Hey everybody, welcome back to the Awful Podcast. This is terrible. Adam, the look that you're fucking did.
Yeah.
The microphone cannot see you.
We're pretty awful.
I'm Fiona, this is Adam.
Yeah.
So how was Shrooms? How did that go?
Oh, it was...
We may need to give a little bit of context for that sentence.
Yes, maybe. So, little disclaimer. This is mostly for my parents. I love you, and I appreciate that you are supporting my endeavors right now by listening to this. But however,
word.
comma, I don't think this is the episode to start with or tell me that you listened to.
Pick the first one.
Pick the first one, maybe.
And also skip the 20 to 40 minute area.
But I just want to let you know that I love you and I appreciate that you're listening to this. This is your stopping point. Okay, great.
Adam spoilers from here on out.
Adam spoilers from here on out. Anyone else?
So please go ahead.
Okay.
Tell the tale.
So, the way that this went down.
Yeah.
I've been sort of talking with this person. AKA doing a little something.
You've been fucking.
Yeah, we've been fucking a little bit. And we were talking back and forth about what we were doing, and I was like, oh, I have today off. What are you doing? And he was like, well, actually, I just got some boomers. Now my mind went to like
baby boomers.
Yes!
Like old people. I just got some of them on the black market.
Yeah! And I was like, Aka, excuse me? Boomers? Who is she? And and they responded, shrooms. And I was like, I have never done shrooms. And for those of you who are curious, I have only smoked weed and I have never done acid. And I've always been curious about what psychedelics do to a person.
I have done one hard drug and it will remain unnamed. for fear of drumming up some unnecessary worry. I'm not addicted to cocaine for anybody else.
And that drug is crushed up Smarties.
Yeah, I could not afford a single cocaine, even if I wanted some.
I mean, me too.
Give off like a gift card for my drug dealer.
You'd be like, hey, I have a gift card for Borders.
The Ziploc bag you gave me this in had a hole at the top. Can I get some store credit?
Can I return? Anyways. So I was like, I have the day free. Yeah. And this was in the morning.
Lord knows I've got the free time.
Yeah. And I had just gotten paid from insert job here.
Yes.
And I had also recently gotten my stimmy check from Uncle Joe. And I was sort of like, I mean, I can afford to not do anything today. Yeah. And maybe do some shrooms and see how that's like.
I will say, half the reason that I haven't done shrooms is because I don't like mushrooms. I don't like the taste of them, so I don't want to do them.
I love mushrooms. However, this does not taste like mushrooms at all.
Oh, really?
So I texted him and I was like, okay, we're going over your place because
we're not doing this.
We're not doing this at my house. And so, well, anyways.
4 minutes into the podcast, we're done. Sorry, go ahead.
Let's cut this part out because I don't like this dead space.
No, this is great.
Okay. So, went over to his place, and he was like, okay, it's 40 for an eighth. I was like, I don't know if that's a good deal, but I'll take it. And he put it in a medicine bottle, a pill bottle, and he was like, okay, so it tastes weird. I'm just going to let you know. Oh. There's not much...
Got the umami flavor?
It just... So the way that I ate it was a PB&J. Like, I
Oh,
literally...
you put it in a sandwich?
Yeah,
What the hell?
I was like, I'm not gonna eat this raw. Like,
Well, 'cause
with
then
no condom? Like, what? And...
Put the Nutella spread on the sandwich.
Put that strawberry preserve in between that earthy, flavored, grainy... Flavy.
You get like a clock wrapped around your chest.
But it's like backwards.
So what happened?
So I ate it, and I waited a little bit. He was playing video games, and he was like, I have PTSD, so I will be also smoking dabs.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, dabs is a form of smoking. I said a form.
I was like, what happened? You looked at me like a part of your body had just like risen out of you. Also, excuse the police cars going back and forth. Nothing's happening to us.
Yeah, they know about my story. They know I did it.
FBI, open up!
Ooh!
I love, that's one of my favorite memes, is like the FBI like breaking into the house and they just break everything. Like,
NYPD!
they just smash like a vase against a wall for no reason. And I love it so much.
It also reminds me of that one scene in Wet Hot American Summer where it's like getting to the end of the movie and they're just running around breaking stuff and they're just where's the phone?
Yeah. Okay, anyways, continue.
So
dense bit.
Yes, very dense. I ate the PB and J and M and waited a little bit. We were sort of like talking and it just like gradually started to like settle in.
Like,
yeah, a little bit. And I just started to feel really happy. And he said that like what you are going to experience is most likely like your true self.
I've heard a lot of people compare psychedelics like that to like salvia, as if it's like you're a very prying your third eye open kind of way. But I've also heard people like I've had people tell me don't take mushrooms or acid unless you are at peace with yourself. And I'm like, why? And they were like, because if you have a bad trip, you're going to learn shit about yourself that you never knew.
Yeah.
And I'm like, uh-oh. No thanks then.
I mean, from my conversation with this person, he said that mushrooms are very euphoric, and acid is the one where it's like you have no control over what type of trip you're going to have. That's where you like learn shit about yourself, but
okay.
But mushrooms is more euphoric than that.
Okay.
But you still don't really have a control over how it is gonna go.
Okay, let it be known, I know nothing about drugs. Like,
yeah, let it also be known, I am not a scientist. I am not a chemist. So this is from hearsay. This is in layman's terms. This is what me as
been told to us.
Yeah, what has been told to me as a 24-year-old college dropout, and what I have learned on the streets.
Straight from the street.
And so that's sort of what he told me, and he was like, I think you're. He was like, some people get anxious and like anxiety ridden, but I feel like you're just gonna be giddy. And I was like, oh really? Thank you. Like, for some reason, I took it as a compliment in the moment. And I was very...
just, like, pleased.
Very giddy. Very, very smiley. And he was literally like, you're glowing. Granted, he was also tripping.
So it's
and
like,
had
wow.
taken it before I did.
Oh.
So he was, like, already in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that it would start to kick in after, like, 20 minutes. I'll probably start to feel tingly. But you'll really start to feel it after like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. That's when you're like really in the thick of it.
Yeah.
But he said, like the full trip is probably like a 12-hour period. And we watch TV.
That is so much more immensely long than I would ever be comfortable not being myself. I like being in control of like what I'm doing and like where I am and stuff, which is one of the reasons why I don't get drunk too much. I don't smoke too much.
Okay.
And like, I had the chance to do acid, and I talked to somebody who is very experienced with it, and apparently the game plan that I was planning on going into it with was not a good one. And I was thinking like, oh heck yeah, I'm gonna drop tab. I'm gonna like listen to my favorite band, and he was like, don't fucking do that. And I was like, why?
Why?
And he was like, because if you have a bad trip, that band's gonna scare you for the rest of your life. And I was like, oh. And he was like, are you with people you trust implicitly? Like you, like,
yeah.
Like at no point could you ever imagine them trying to hurt you. I was like, no. Like, do not do it then. Do it with people you're safe with. And I'm like, okay. But now I'm super scared because every time I'm not sober, I'm the most annoying person on the planet. Like, it's truly terrible.
That
because
doesn't surprise me.
Well, because I bounce back and forth between, like, that's really funny. And, hey, do you guys hate me?
The insecurities come out.
Would you guys say that you hate me if I asked you if you hated me? Because I am curious if you hate me. Do you hate me? So
help me.
Help God, please. So I went through a period of my life where I was a bit of a pothead, but that was maybe a year or two, not too long. But I was high most of the time, which like if people knew or didn't know was kind of open for interpretation. And then I dated somebody for a pretty brief period. We're still friends, and I did a dab with them and a couple friends. And it had been a bit since I'd gotten high, and they had been working on that shit like it was the cure for cancer.
Yeah, I'm sure they
was
really
out of my mind. We like went to a store across the way at one point, and I'm still feeling it. And I'm trying to buy a bag of Doritos and one Snickers bar because I was so hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting in line, and I'm just hyper aware of how many people are in line behind me. Which, by the way, is none. There's nobody there. But there's one person in front of me, and I'm sitting there like, they're waiting on me. But there's like a dude in front of me, so it's not like I can go anyway. But, like, they're waiting on me. Oh god, what do I do? Then the dude gets out of line, and the guy, like, gestures me forward. And I'm like... and I'm like, shaking from how many people there are behind me, and there's nobody.
Oh my god.
And he made a joke about how there's only 3 genders, boy, girl, and sleepy. And I was like, okay. And I think I was identifying as non-binary at the time, but I mean, that shit got me so bad that I was like outside the store still giggling about it. And my girlfriend at the time was just like, you are out of your fucking mind right now. And she would do multiple dabs a day. That shit would take me out for like a day and a half.
Yeah, that takes...
Which is one of the reasons why I flat don't do it anymore, because I'm like, this will fuck my life up if I keep doing this.
Yeah, same. And I'm
going to start buying shit or like investing in a cooler pipe. Like... Like, no,
get like a
fucking
beaker
thank you.
system.
Yeah, but like a pipe that looks like a beaker from the Muppets. It's got me.
That's the noise it makes when you blow the blowtorch.
Yeah. It's like him but on fire.
Yes.
As he habitually is.
Yeah, so I spent a little time at his place. We played a little bit of video games, ate some food.
I can tell you were high because you are not a gamer.
What'd you say?
I said I could tell you were high now because you are not a gamer.
Yeah, not a gamer, Well, let's be real.
You're a gamer.
I mean, let's be real. He played the video games that I mostly made out with him.
Oh, okay, well that works out.
So, by playing video games, that's what I mean.
Okay.
And then we, like, watched a couple of things.
Yeah, we watched Netflix.
Yeah, I watched Netflix, and then he was like, I need to get some more dabs, and it's on your side of town, so we're gonna make sure that we get you home safe. And I was like, okay. And being on shrooms, I said a lot of times, I feel so optimistic.
That sounds like the beginning of a horror film. Like,
right?
man, I feel gooder than I've ever felt before.
Like,
and then like a car runs.
It's just
the house.
setting up the other shoe to drop.
Well, like my brain would be like, this would be us talking if you were in heaven or whatever. Just like, so that's how I died.
Really? So, and other disclaimer: do not do this. Do not do this. Be better than me. Come up with a better plan.
Did you drive while you were?
Yes.
Okay,
Short
yes.
answer
PSA,
is yes.
Do not drive while
PSA.
you're impaired. Especially don't tote anybody around while you're impaired.
Very that. And I started driving, and the grass was so green. And everything was so beautiful. And I just felt so calm.
God, you're feeling this, and I'm like driving up to haunted hills making DoorDash deliveries to haunted retirement homes.
And I just felt so happy, and I was like, something must be going wrong. And I turned to my friend, and I was like, how's my driving doing? And he's like, you're doing fine. You're a little wobbly, but we're doing great.
Wow, what a collaborative effort. He's got his hand on the gear shift, and
Yeah.
you're like...
He's got his hands on the wheel being like, you're doing great, honey.
Doing great. You're
And-
like covered in blood.
But like, I was feeling so happy. The window was down. I was playing music to like really get me
Like,
to,
enraveled into,
anchored
like-
to something.
yeah.
And I was like singing along, and shout out to Paris Alexa, because it really got me through this drive.
Well, that's good.
Her music just really spoke to me in that moment.
Only imagine listening to Florence and the Machine on shrooms. And I'll listen to her sober all day, but like she's like in my brain.
Oh.
That's what I would be listening to if I was on shrooms, I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to Paris Alexa sober many a time.
Oh, she's
And I think that's why I instinctively just started listening to her, because I was just like, I just need like something to bring me up and just like make me happy, even though I was pretty happy anyways. And I dropped him off, and he was like right by my house, and there's an Arby's right by my house, and
only on shrooms could you ever eat at Arby's. I know you like Arby's sober because you're a fucking freak.
For you.
Who's keeping Arby's in business? This guy.
Yeah, and it's a drug. Speaking of drugs,
Speaking
Arby's
of.
is a drug.
Wow.
I worked at Arby's when I was 20, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was my semester off of college. I think it was 2018, 2019 maybe.
Yeah.
And I was working at Arby's because it was pretty much my first job. I had jobs before that, like I had worked at summer camps, but this was like my first big boy adult job.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Working at Arby's.
Yeah.
And
My first job was McDonald's.
Hey. And that began my hatred for people.
And fast food.
And fast food. But like I would just eat the food there. I didn't get a free meal. I got 50% off, but I didn't get a free meal, which was
Horseshit.
bullshit. Horsey shit.
It was
horsey
weird.
sauce shit.
I used to work at a Rally's that it wasn't really corporately mandated, so it was just kind of like the dude who owned the building just kind of let us do whatever we wanted to do.
Oh
I
my
guess.
god.
So
you were like, well, this is how a double cheeseburger is getting made today.
Well, I mean, like, we would still abide by company guidelines and stuff, because, you still didn't want the building to go under. But now, I guess they don't let you... So what we used to do is if we were hungry, just make something and eat it. It did not care.
And didn't, like, cash it out or something.
No, not at all. We would literally just, like, stack meat patties on top of each other, just, like, hunker down on that shit.
Wow.
And now, I mean, they go by, like, every other place where it's like, is that your 50-cent meal for your lunch today? That's one chicken bite and half of a Fanta small cup. And if you starve, I'm not paying you.
And if you
But yeah,
have
then
that in 5.5 minutes.
Well, it's so weird because when I was out of high school, I weighed about 130 pounds.
Okay.
I was very small.
My senior year, I was very small too.
Yeah, and I'm only like 5'9", something like that. So I was very, very small out of high school. And then I worked at a restaurant very briefly as a hostess, and that was weirdly very fun. But everybody that I worked with hated me, which, first off, understandable because I was the worst.
You were awful.
Oh, up until yesterday, I was the worst person ever.
But
and I'm going to say that about today, too. So...
But tomorrow, who knows?
Who knows?
I have 1 foot in yesterday and 1 foot in tomorrow, and I'm pissing.
Oh, my brain is like, I got 1 foot in the grave already. But, so I worked there, and then I just so badly wanted to get out of there because it was just too far, and I didn't have a car.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working at Rallies. And at Rallies, I was the only openly queer person that worked there. Everybody else was like very preppy person in high school or something, or like somebody who's in their 40s who still works there, somebody who's in their 30s who's like a manager and that's their big break. And I mean, like,
which
no,
there's nothing wrong
there's
with.
nothing wrong with that. No, unless you're
But
them,
it definitely,
in which case they suck. But
but it definitely describes a specific type of person.
a little. So the issue I ran into was I wore the tightest pants, the tightest t-shirts, the tightest everything because I was just this little twink. And one of the managers, I think, had a thing for me, and it was hella weird.
Oh no!
Because they'd be touching me a lot, and like I'd be like on the grill or whatever, and they'd be like touching my shoulders as they like pass me or whatever, or like they like put their hand on like my lower back to like move me and stuff, and I'm like,
just squeeze
oh,
it by you there.
just gonna sneak right past you there, buddy. Very, very like Louisiana style way to like handle shit, but yeah, and with how much food I was eating while I was there, I ended up filling out a little bit, but only a little bit. I gained like maybe 10 pounds while I was working there over the course of like a little less than half a year.
Yeah.
And then I started working at this thrift store. And that was really fun for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then everything just started spiraling and I didn't want to work there anymore.
And then the Fire Nation attacked.
Well, because... So, I worked in a warehouse for a while during the summer. And the summer was the worst because they had central heat in for when the winter kicks in. But they didn't have air conditioning in there, and they didn't know how to turn the heating off. So in the summer,
absolutely not.
I was baking in there. I think the hottest it ever got was like 114 degrees. And I just kept stealing fans from outside on the shop floor. I just kept taking them, moving them into this centralized bastion of life that I made that just kept pushing hot air at me quickly. But I guess that was good enough. But literally all I had to do was
But I'm sure you
just...
were super skinny.
Oh my god, the
sweating your butt off.
Well, it's odd because like I never really get zits like ever. And if I do, they're gone in like a day. I had one right here yesterday and it's already gone.
Oh.
But
okay.
Like I even had to like put concealer over it because I was like, ah. But
the world, it's gonna see my
flaws. Oh god! Now everyone will see me. But every day at lunch, I would literally just grab shit from like a pharmacy or something and just be like, all right, Pringles and nuts and juice. That's my lunch. So I packed on, again, like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And then I got fired from there. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going through like a self-help phase. I want to like start going to the gym and eating better. And then I, instead of like kind of tightening my frame, I bulked up, which is now, in my brain, the exact opposite of what I wanted then. Because I was like, who knows? Maybe the dysphoria will go away if I look more dude. And then my facial hair was like, yeah, we're not going to make this happen. And my body was like, no, you still have frail skin like a little baby. And I'm like,
you're still a delicate little flower.
Still a little baby bitch.
Oh.
And I mean, I was strong, I guess, but I really just had endurance because like I would like go on treadmills and stuff, and like I did a lot of cardio. And and then I stopped doing almost all of it completely.
Yeah.
And now I'm like trying to like kick myself getting back into it, or at least try to get back into it, because I try to do like one exercise a day just to keep myself knowing that I'm moving to a degree.
Yeah.
And like, because everybody goes through like depressive states in their life where it's just like you hit your lows like a meteor, and you're sitting in the crater hoping that you can dig yourself out of it with just your hands.
Yeah.
And I feel like something that at least helps me. I don't want to like describe it. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a therapist or anything like that. But the way that I like to look at it is one of two ways. One, if I'm stuck in this crater, getting to the surface is not my goal. Just like knowing that I'm climbing is the goal.
Okay.
And two, and this is the one that weirdly works better for me, is like I like to imagine that there's like a little lady roaming around in my brain trying to like treat my brain as if it's like a house that's burning down.
Okay.
And like, oh, my depression's going up. Oh no, the water's not working. And it's like and I'm just like, oh, I'm giving her such a rough time, and it makes me feel so bad. I need to be better to myself and to her. So like
that one video where it's like, we need to get rid of these chairs. We can't let people know that we sit.
If you're not, if you either make your bed or throw it away. There's no time. And it's odd because like going down the path of self-help is terrifying, especially for like a lot of people where like all they have known is being sad like their whole life. And
it's comfortable at times.
Well, yeah, it's people learn to love their chains.
It's a drug.
You remember from earlier in the podcast?
Remember?
Remember? Really trying to evolve this bit of all the bits, saying remember in a weird way.
Cofember?
November?
Freblember?
Alright. I'm gonna lose my mind. I can feel the calcium leaving my body.
Wake me up when Menember ends.
Menember. It's fine.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well,
oh yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of, there's a little bit left of the story. Just a
I'm
little
sorry,
bit.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. So I got Arby's, wanted a chocolate shake, but the girl was really nice and saying, like, we do not have chocolate right now. We just have vanilla. And she was like, is that okay? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes! Yes, that is
That's
more
so
than
okay.
That is so okay. You are so nice.
You're so beautiful.
You're
also.
so, yeah, and she was so accommodating. And
Meanwhile, she's literally just like...
she's just doing her... Yeah, she's just doing her
Here's
job.
your shake.
Yeah, but I counted out my money before I got there 5 times just to make sure.
Like,
And
God forbid.
And still, when I got up to the window, I was like, how much is it? And she said, $12.95. And I was like, I'm going to assume what is in my hand is correct.
You just handed her your card.
I just throw the money away and just hand her my debit card.
Oh my god.
And then I turned out of there, and I don't know if I like waited a long time to turn out of the Arby's.
Because you're like...
Because I'm
in the car.
I'm in the car. And
Time's
I'm
like
sure
a nebulous concept to you.
Literally. And I was literally thinking to myself, I was like, I am now a person who has done shrooms.
And just been out.
And just been
out on the town.
Out on the town. I can now say that I've done this.
It's weird because I would love to say that, like, I want to do every drug that exists once. Except heroin. Heroin is the number one where I'm not cool.
Yeah. Maybe not meth. Maybe not meth.
Yeah, maybe not meth either.
But, like, because I know that over time it just, like, fucks with your teeth. And just...
And, like, out of all of the things, I can handle my mind shattering. But my teeth? Ew!
Ew! It's already on the downward spiral to destruction. Like... I don't want to encourage more destruction.
You had to recover from that sentence really quick. I like saw you go like I said spile. I have to recover.
I have to keep going. And so I drove home and I ate the potato cakes. and half of my shake, and I was literally laying down, and the straw was in my mouth, and I was sucking on it, and I was listening to whatever video I was watching.
Like, in my brain, it's like the mental image is like you have the straw in your mouth and you're sucking the thing up, but it just dribbles down your chin. Like you're not even getting to the part where you swallow it.
I mean, it's close.
Oh.
It's very, very
no.
close. I have to really pay attention to the slurping so I can get it in my mouth,
Make
in
sure
my
it's
stomach.
in there.
Yeah, and not like throw up in the process.
What if it's outside my mouth and I try swallowing it?
Exactly. It just doesn't work. And
that shit don't work.
Yeah, and then after that I took a really long nap, woke up at midnight, started the nap at like 5, and I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm still very happy. But it is midnight, and I have a headache now.
And that's not a time to be happy.
And that it's not a time to be happy. Ate the turkey bacon sandwich that I got from Arby's.
You didn't even eat it?
I didn't eat
I did not know that a sandwich was a part of the
Yeah,
story.
I had a turkey, bacon, and Swiss. That's what it was. Turkey, bacon, ranch. Shit.
That sounds good, except the ranch. That sounds good, but
Go off. You can replace it with
Arby's
honey.
made it.
Yeah.
So
Working at Arby's has sort of ruined the roast beef for me.
Yeah.
But I do trust the
meat.
quote unquote healthier stuff.
Okay.
Because it's like, okay, I can tell that this is like real food.
This is obviously real.
Yes. And even though it's not the best for me, it still has some nutritional value.
It resembles nutrition.
Yeah.
It's weird. I what is your favorite fast food place? Like if all the fast food places in the country were all centralized onto one street, where would you go?
Ooh. I do love Taco Bell.
I also love Taco Bell. However, I
Not
only
the beef.
like one item from Taco Bell, and that's just the fucking tacos. Because when you go to Taco Bell, I have to get all the lettuce taken off of whatever I asked for, because they might as well inject the lettuce with a syringe into whatever it is that they're giving to you, because picking off the lettuce is the same thing as trying to pick off your freckles. It's embedded into the fucking meal. They pop it in there and they're like, yeah, we're gonna put so much lettuce in here it's gonna lower your IQ. Fuck you. I don't know how that would work, but
it's also very wet for some reason.
Yeah, and it's so wet. Why is it so wet? I was I was getting Taco Bell, and my girlfriend was on the phone with me while I was in the car, and she heard me order, and she was like, "Did you seriously not put lettuce on there? That's so innocuous. It's just lettuce." I'm like, "It's just crunchy water, and it just hangs out of there, and it fucks with the consistency, and I hate it."
Yeah, but it gives me the illusion that I'm eating healthy things.
Yeah, but even the lettuce is not healthy.
It truly is not. Definitely not that type of lettuce.
Well, yeah, it's like fucking paper with food coloring on it.
Yeah. So I ate the rest of my food, and then took a little nap, went to work. A little late, but still very happy.
Well, that's good.
And then, and now I'm here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. It's me, a person who has done psychedelics.
Stop getting that close to the microphone, honey. You can't do that. So, on the subject of what we've done since the podcast, I had to go to my clinic for my trans clinic.
Wow.
To trans my gender.
You're training?
But
I don't know.
You made train motions.
I made train motions because my brain went to trans, and then I was like, oh,
Trains.
I wanted to make a joke about you being a train, and then
it just didn't work.
It didn't work.
Yeah, I watched it, and your eyes that bit fall apart, and you were like, hey.
Yeah.
Can I get a pity laugh, please? So I had to drive out to my hospital, which is 30 fucking minutes away.
Mm.
And I didn't have to make an appointment, so that was good. But I was just going in to do some blood work because they needed to make sure that, like, my blood was okay and that the estrogen wasn't having a negative effect on my body, just so they could double my dosage and, like, amp it up so I can girl faster.
Yes.
But, so I got in the lobby, and I'm, like, in the waiting room, like, waiting for them to stab me for science.
Mm-hmm.
And this lady sits down next to me. And keep in mind, this whole room is just old white people. So I feel more in danger than I have ever felt from a social situation. I don't think I'm going to be stabbed, but I do think that people will look at me, and I don't like that shit either.
That social situation just called you an offensive slur.
Yeah. The F word. But, so this lady sits down next to me, and she starts talking to me, and keep in mind, it is dead quiet in this room. Nobody is saying shit. And she is speaking so loud, and she's right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's very clearly a very nice lady. And I'm sure... So, when she talked to me, I'm 1,000,000% sure she was speaking English. However,
okay.
the order in which she said these English words completely baffled me. She would look at me, and she'd be like, and my daughter, they work at the hospital up there, and you know, when I was parking with my sister, she in the car with me, and we at the clinic, and when they put the thing, and I'm like, what? And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be rude.
And the zip and the zoop and the zap and the
Yeah.
and the pudding and the frog
And the bippity boppity boos.
and the bippity boppity boom and the dab like
and I'm just like, and then, at one point, she brings up how her daughter is supposed to call her because I guess she's in the parking lot outside.
Mm-hmm.
So she hands me her phone and she's like, "Can you unlock this for me?" And I was like,
I don't have your face.
Okay. So I push the, and it's an iPhone, and I push the button and a passcode pops up. So I'm like,
what's your birthday?
Yeah, what's your passcode? And she's like, And she takes the phone from me, goes to dial in a passcode, and then the phone rings. It's her sister, or it's her daughter, or whatever. And then she hits the red button and hangs up on her. And I'm like, what? And she's like, oh my gosh, I messed up so bad. And she gets a call back again and answers it. And she puts it on speaker for God in hell to hear. And so everybody can hear, and it's nothing weird, but she's just like, I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I have a very nice young lady next to me, and my brain is like, ah! Oh my God! I was just... Gender euphoria. Literally, if a stranger genders me right, like, I will suck their dick. I don't even care if they have one. And that was it. So, like, the lady who's, like, doing the stabbings calls me up, and she's apparently running out of all the shit. Like, gauze, running out of it. Needles, running out of them. Yada, yada. So she stabs me, takes the blood, and my blood is just pissing out of my body. And she's like, oh, whoops, I don't have the gauze. I'll be right back. So I'm just, like, blood's just trickling down my arm. And I'm like, well, this is an ordeal. And I'm just getting blood all over the damn table, and I'm trying to catch it with my hands. And I'm like, can I wash my hands? After she, like, tapes me up. And then right after she tapes me up and I stand up, the gauze falls off. So it's just, like, the cotton ball and, like, some, like, medical tape just hanging gently. But I didn't want to bother her and ask her to tape it again, so I just left it.
Oh, my God.
So I'm, like, holding my arm, like, trying to keep the tape still on it.
Oh my God.
So I get out of the hospital, and I'm, like, getting ready to do some dashes and, like, make some money. And I'm about to get on the highway back to my house. And I made a playlist on my phone for practicing singing while I'm in the car.
Yeah.
One of those songs is The Bells of Notre Dame from the Hunchback of Notre Dame movie.
Yeah.
I may have been going a little too hard because we're at a stoplight, and somebody in a truck above my car is looking down at me with, like, like eyes like I'm some kind of circus performer. And, like, I look at them and I'm like,
oh my
just
God.
right back to my steering wheel. And now I live in fear that I'm going to get a call from some, like, liberal arts, like, theater or something way out in some other city I don't live in, being like, I saw you at the stoplight on Yada Yada and 25th, and your performance in the
Not
car,
Yada Yada and 25th.
Yeah. Oh my God, the bread shops there.
The clubs on Yada Yada Road.
The clubs. Let me tell you. But it was.
That is literally the worst when you were like going hard on a song and singing your hard song, and someone dares to look in your direction.
Yeah,
you're just like, oh my God, they knew that I was experiencing happiness. Oh God.
Oh, fuck.
Fuck, they know I'm talented.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But, well, at least about myself.
Take that back.
Well, I don't.
You better say nice things about yourself, you goddamn bitch.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. So a bit of fun self-destructive behavior that I apparently tend to exhibit, and a friend of mine had to point this out to me.
Oh, okay.
I don't like paying myself compliments, and I don't know why that is. And not in a like, oh, you're just lying or whatever. And like, I'll accept a compliment from someone, but like, I don't like saying that I'm good at stuff, because when I say that, that's implicit that like I know, and that's not. I feel like compliments should be paid by strangers. It's like I don't get to decide if I'm good at something. It's up to somebody on the outside to decide that for me. True. The problem is that that's super not the case.
Yeah.
And you should absolutely pat yourself on the back for stuff that you know that you're good at, so long as you don't become like an arrogant Chad who's the son of the guy who's the coach for the softball and the tennis and the croquet team at some kind of white boys like
British school.
And you'll never become a varsity member. My father will have words with your father. Like, don't become that fucking kid. But, like, also, like, realize that there are things that you put effort into and that, like, you do eventually improve at them and you become good at it. Like,
yeah, I mean, for me, it really took a while to, like, get in the habit of, like, actually speaking positively about myself.
oh, yeah. And you're a phenomenal singer. Like,
thank you very much.
and it's funny, now that I bring that up, because right after the podcast that we recorded last time, I recorded an audition tape for this fella doing a couple songs. Mm-hmm. And I'm, like, trying to, like, keep my hands as still as possible, holding the mic, like, holding the camera. And he's, like, going off in my bedroom. And, like, the very sweet old lady that lives in the apartment next to me just hanging out, who has definitely heard me railing people in that bedroom at all hours of the night. So go ahead and apologize to the very sweet old lady who let me borrow her hammer that one time.
She's probably like, thank God it's singing this time.
Oh, Jesus. Who knows? Maybe that's just a kink that I have, and that's just part of the whole thing. They're going to hear sloppy wet noises right after that.
Just recording me singing naked and you're just...
Yeah. Okay. There's a high F in this part. Make sure that you land that. If you don't land this F5, you can get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah. So
like,
I got a callback for that show.
Yeah, floppy weenies.
Didn't get it.
Oh, you didn't?
But yeah, it's okay. I thought I did a really good job.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, I mean, the part doesn't, it fits my personality, but not necessarily how I look.
Okay.
And
I could definitely see you as the king from Hamilton, though.
Yes, the King George from Hamilton, definitely.
I could definitely see
part,
it.
And definitely could do it.
Who were you auditioning for?
It was, so, the show is Ordinary Days at French Creek Theater. If you're in Sheffield, Ohio, June, I think it's 4th, 5th, and 6th. Definitely go see it. The play itself is so good. So just, I mean, even see it for that alone. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic production.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story. And it has nothing to do with COVID, so it's nice distraction.
Could you imagine if they just snuck a reference into it there?
I'm sure that maybe, who knows, we'll have to see. But
I haven't seen the full show, but who knows?
But the show itself and the part that I was going for, I can sing it. There's some songs where it's a little bit low in my range, and I've just recently discovered how to like sing more resonantly down there and like make it sound good. Because like I am very much a tenor, and low notes are not my forte.
I am very much a baritone.
Yes. And that was one of the songs that we had to sing at the callbacks, was like one of the lower ones. And
it just didn't go well.
Yeah, well, who knows? We were also wearing masks during all of it, and I was double masking it, so like you probably really couldn't hear me down there. And I just don't necessarily look like the original guy who played that role. Personally, I think that I could play the role and like put a cool spin on it and play it as if it's like one of those crazy people that roam the streets of New York that are just very optimistic and out there and like, oh my god, you want a flyer? Like, and people just sort of like stay a little bit away from. But that's, and maybe that's just not the director's vision, and that's okay. And I don't know. I don't think it has anything to do with like my talent or my merit as an artist. Yeah. I just think he was going for
just like found some other kind of
like.
They were just going. Wanted to go with.
Yeah, they were going with a different direction.
It's funny, like when I met you. It's so for those of you obviously who don't know, which is all of you. Me and Adam theoretically met before we were working with each other. He was in a production of... I try to forget it. He was in a production of Matilda at a local theater, and I went with my ex-boyfriend, and we had a great time. It was a great show. I loved it. And the only thing I remembered from that show from Adam's perspective, because he wasn't in like a major role, was he was so much taller than like everybody else in the show. And I made mention of it. So when we met and he said that he was in the show, I was like, wait, were you one of the like dudes that was like on the fence and like doing that shit? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I remember you. So that's our crazy history. But I remember when I met you, like while we were hanging out at work and stuff, my first thought was I thought you would be really good as Marvin in Falsettos.
I would love to play Marvin. Oh my god. I'm way too young, but...
Well, yeah. I'm in that interesting either where, like, given that I am a woman and all that such...
Yeah.
And I don't see myself as, like, a Hedwig, so I can't really fit into a whole lot of roles.
I think you would be an interesting, the doctor lesbian from next door.
Oh, I love her. She makes me so happy.
Like, I think that would be such an... if I was cast...
That is happening.
Yeah, like, I think that would be an interesting take on the character.
I really liked her.
Yeah.
And it's funny because most of the musicals that I've seen, because I think I've only seen, like, 4 in person, and I've never seen, like, anything on Broadway because, like, come on. But... we're doing a fucking podcast, for God's sake. So,
we're not gonna see Broadway... well, I've seen a Broadway show.
Shut up. But I've never seen a show on Broadway before, and I very likely never will. But if I did, and I don't think that the show is on Broadway anymore, but I would love to see Sweeney Todd on Broadway. I love Sweeney Todd. It's one of my favorites. And I think I told you about this. There was an interview with the great Sir Patrick Stewart, Sir Ian McKellen, and Hugh Jackman, all on the Graham Norton show. And, like, Hugh Jackman was in the middle of a story, and Sir Patrick Stewart, like, gets this glint in his eyes of just, I've just had the most wonderful idea. And he's like... I've said this for many years, and I believe this, that Hugh Jackman was meant to play Broadway's Sweeney Todd. It's as if the role was meant and written for him. And we have discussed in the past that for a brief moment I could play the judge, Judge Turpin. They share a duet scene for about 2 songs. Who should play Mrs. Lovett? And he, like, puts his hand on Ian McKellen, and Ian's just like, oh. It's the sweetest thing I've ever seen, and I would still love to see that. I would love to see that so much. And this is also coming from somebody who I love the musical, I love just, like, reading the playwright, and I like the movie a lot. I mean, there is a part in the movie where I just kind of stop watching when that part happens. I'm just like, all right, the rest of it is whatever.
What part?
When it hits, and this may be controversial to anybody who likes the film, but when it gets to, I can't remember the name of the song, but it's Mrs. Lovett's song when she's talking about how much she loves Todd.
By the sea.
Yeah, that one. I don't like that song, and I don't really like any other song after that.
That is so funny.
It makes me feel bad because I'm like, I love the show so much, but like it's, you know how in every musical there's a song you're just not that into, maybe 2 or 3 songs you're just maybe not that into, but they're like intermittently dispersed throughout the show. For Sweeney Todd, it's like right at the last act they all just appear, and I'm like, well, great, I liked all the songs before this. No, it's not that one that it starts at. It starts with his wife's song, City on Fire. That song annoys me to no end, and I hate it.
The Joanna song?
No.
City on Fire!
Yeah, that one.
City on Fire!
I hate that song so bad.
Mischief!
It's just... I hate it. I don't know what it is about it that just bothers me so much, but I really don't like it.
There's a song... There's a song in the musical version of Sweeney Todd that's called City on Fire.
It doesn't sound the same, though.
And it doesn't sound the same. It's literally like all the lunatics released from Fogg's Asylum, and they're running through the streets of London, and there's
but that one's
lunatics
sick.
running in the streets and
Yeah, but it's sick, though. That's totally different than just
true.
random person being like, hey, get that lady out of the restaurant.
Hey.
And she's like, so that's my thoughts on that. But
personally, I don't see Hugh Jackman as Sweeney Todd.
So if I were to, like, and oh my god, we were talking about this at work, and I wanted to bring this up on the podcast. We were talking about how much we love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And that we really thought it would be cool to just recast the film.
Yeah.
And I so badly want to see, like, I want to see a Black Charlie, because that feels like who it was intended for the character to be. It also feels very odd that it's a bunch of a poor white kid and some rich white kids. Yeah. And it's like, I feel like we could definitely do something different with that.
Of everyone in the world, he picked 5
white
random
kids.
people, and they were all white.
Crazy. Whoa, I can't believe it. Well, I mean, most of them are from European countries, so.
True.
But even in saying that, there's still black people in European countries, so like.
That is very true.
But I would love to see. Who did we say for Grandpa Joe? I can't remember who it was.
Oh.
Or it was Ian McKellen as Grandpa Joe.
Ian McKellen, or I was thinking,
and then like Idris Elba as like the dad. I thought that would be really good.
I just thought of this recently, but have you seen Us?
Yeah.
Okay, the kid.
That's who I said at first. I just can't
Charlie.
remember his name.
I can't remember his
Literally,
name
I'm
either,
gonna look
but
it up right
apparently
now.
he's writing a movie.
Is he?
I think so. He's basically doing what that one girl from Blackish did, who just like it came up with this idea for a movie that was basically an adult becoming a kid and like learning her lesson that she's like being a business girl who's focused on business too much, but like she started the movie executive produced at the age of like 12 or something. He's basically doing the same thing as her.
I'm looking up. I'm looking up the name of the son in the film.
Got ya.
Cast.
He's probably got a cool ass name.
I bet he does. This child's name is Evan Alex. We built ourselves up for that. I mean, he did a great performance in the movie, and I would love to see him. Like, I would love to see him, especially in like a main role.
Yeah.
Especially
since like he's a little older now.
Well, it's weird too because like I have no casting ideas for the fucking kids.
Yeah, that could literally change by the minute because kids change so much.
They change so quickly, like,
and it's very hard to play like
specific kind of kids without like having some reference point on where to find them or like what they've been in before. And
and like
kids, the thing that they've been in before was 3 years ago, and now they don't look like kids anymore. So it's like, well, fuck.
And like kids' voices change.
Yeah, and that's like one of the bigger reasons why like Chowder ended was because he was like hitting puberty, and they were like, yeah, he can't even do the voice anymore.
Oh,
which like, aw,
Chowder.
Which doesn't make sense to me because like Adventure Time, like Finn went through puberty while he was still recording, and he sounded fine. Then again, though, I mean, like, who knows how many takes that they had to do to like actually get like a good take during like the 7 fucking years that like the show was running, but.
And it was probably like a slow
burn
evolution of his like quote unquote new voice. Like I'm sure if you listen to like the first episodes and this last episodes,
oh, they sound like completely different.
Yeah.
And it's like the opposite of iCarly, where like Freddie walks in like, hello. And Carly's like, what happened to your voice? And he's like, I don't know, puberty. And then they never touch on it again.
And then he's like jacked.
Yeah, well, it's weird because it's like I get so angry when people are like, "Oh my god, this person who was in a show from your childhood, remember? They're hot now." And it's like, "No shit, they're hot. They grew up wealthy."
That is true.
They were
the money.
They were one of the main characters in a show that was popular.
That is syndicated.
Yeah. Like it's like of course Nathan Kress is hot. Of course. Fucking Miranda Whoa, Cosgrove. Jesus,
Miranda Presley.
Of course, Miranda. Of course, they're still very, very good looking. Of course, Jeanette McGurty also very good looking, and like, it blows my mind that blows people's minds. It's like, do you know how hot you would be if you didn't have to worry about money?
Yeah.
I'm out here being like, oh, I gotta
spend... It's crazy what the human mind can do.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I'm so hungry.
Yeah, me too. Should we end this so we can eat? It's
like a third wheel on like a date with like a couple friends or whatever. Like their friends are dating and they're just kind of like, get horny. And it's like, should we send them home?
Yeah, should we... Drop Chris off.
We drop Chris off, and it's like, great, I'm definitely not right here. I've had that happen so many times, but like, while I was the third date, or third wheel on, like, hanging out with a couple, I ended up flirting with somebody else, and then they joined us, and then we were hanging out, so it's like, wow. Cool. That's a weird thing that I never noticed that I do. I flirt with, like, everybody. It's kind of weird. Well, because of our last job, and now that we don't work there anymore, they can't punish us for it.
Yes.
We had a boss who was so cute.
Yes. Very handsome.
So full of positive energy. And like...
Very positive, but also very suave.
A very suave kind of fella. He was the whole package.
Smelled nice.
Yeah. Well, it
was a strong smell.
You could smell him coming.
Yes.
I'd love
you
to
could
smell
tell
it
where.
I'm gonna have to censor that. That's gotta get censored. It's weird because it's like every place that you work, there's someone there that's fuckable, like really, really
least
fuckable.
one,
and at least one. I know
I don't know if there was one at
for
Arby's. I don't know if there was one at Arby's.
No, it's the roast beef.
Or it was just me. I was the fuckable one.
Yeah, if there is no fuckable one, it's you.
It's you.
That's why, for the longest time, where we used to work before you arrived, I was like, man, sure is unfortunate that I'm the only person who I'd stick my dick in. Dang old darn, is that a problem?
Dang darn. Yeah, I'll leave you with one last story about getting kicked out. There was this one night that I was chatting on Grindr, and I was in a low spot in my life.
You had Grindr, so...
I had Grindr. I mean, I still do, but I'm definitely better.
I'm better for it.
Well, not that, but I'm definitely a better person than I was in this moment.
Oh yeah, being on Grindr is where like your scummiest behavior dating wise always comes out.
Yep.
It's always like you're chatting with somebody who's kind of cute, but like not completely cute, so you're not sure if you really like them,
Right.
and their personality isn't magnetic enough
Yeah.
for you to be
It's
super
not-
hooked on it. So you will ghost the fuck out of them, and like. If anytime somebody hears that somebody ghosted them, they're like, "Oh, what an asshole!" And it's like, "Oh yeah, well, imagine if you were in my position, where you're talking to somebody who's vaguely interesting."
Yeah, and it's just like they're not putting enough effort in for you to put in the effort
for
to,
you
like,
to put in the
stop
effort back, or like,
Yeah, but like I was chatting with people on Grindr, and we had invited some people over at this person's place, and the plan was just to sort of have a 4-person sexual fun extravaganza. And
I don't know what it is about the phrase extravaganza involving a fucking 4-way, but
and so went over, and I'm gonna be honest, I was more focused on the 2 as
a very
opposed to the
specific
1.
person.
Well, I was more attracted to the 2 than I was to the other one, and that was the one that like I was paired with. Like the other 2 were very much into each other and were like,
And you were slightly
And I
okay
was
with this guy.
slightly okay with this guy, and he also didn't really get hard, and he told me that. And I was like, at that point, very much about him. Now I'm more versed. And I was like, well...
You could fucking guess where I land.
And I was just like, this is disappointing. And then it just sort of turned into, like, if that fizzled out, because, like, obviously we weren't all into it, so it got a little awkward.
Yeah.
And then they were like, yeah, I think we're going to turn in for the night. And I was like, okay. And so me and the other guy left, and the other 2, the one guy lived there, and his interest, partner, they weren't dating at the time, but the person that he was most interested in that night was like slowly putting on his clothes and like, yeah, I'm
leaving.
Yeah, and so the other 2 left, and I was like, well, okay.
Could you imagine being that guy who like invites people over to see which one of them is gonna basically audition to be your fuck for the night and then kick the rest of them out? That's so fucked.
Yeah, we didn't talk after
Which sucks because I would totally do that if I did. But
yeah, if I had the confidence and the chutzpah, I would do that. And like the not give a fuck about other people's feelings type of thing. And like
I feel like
that I would if I were to do it, I would probably like make sure that everyone involved knows what's going on.
That was a possibility. Yeah. Well, because then it's shitty. Then it's just like
then it turns into a game show, and then cameras are involved, and then CBS is there.
CBS?
Yeah, they're like America's Next Top Bottom, like
America's Next Top.
Yeah, you know.
It's odd because like I have been in multiple 3-ways,
okay.
and I regretted all of them.
Oh,
every single one of them.
Okay.
Like now, I'm like, oh god, I really wish that I didn't do that.
Mm.
And I mean, like some of them I instigated, a couple of them I was kind of pressured into, and like I would say that's not cool. And I mean, it's not, but it's also like I don't know. I knew what I was getting into, and I knew I had the opportunity to say no.
Yeah.
I just didn't take it.
Yeah.
But it's weird because like that's one of those things where it's like, wow, a dream come true. I don't like 3-ways. I just don't like them, and it's odd because it's like the attention is always focused on 2 people really.
Yeah.
And that like that extra person is either the focal point or like it's never really like commutatively shared. It's like some person is into another person much more than the other person, and then it gets awkward and weird. Because it's like, imagine getting 3 people to go out and get the same food, first off.
Yeah.
Like, that shit's hard enough. Let alone getting 3 people to want to fuck each other equivalently.
I mean, it's like improv. Improv is very hard between two people. Imagine with three people.
Exactly.
But the way that improv is better when it's like more structured and like when there's audience suggestions.
Exactly.
So
join us for part 3 on the podcast where we fuck multiple people in front of you.
Yeah, and we take surveys from the audience and see what they think.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Post down in the comments if you think these moves I'm pulling are really laying it on.
Yeah.
Give me some tips that it's just like spit in their hair.
Give me some tips.
Do you guys have any peanut butter?
Someone just comments $12.95. But it's not actual money.
It's what? It's like them holding up like the scorecard at like the Olympics or whatever, and it's like, wow, that was I'd say that was a very impressive 8.8 out of 10.
Yeah.
From Fee. That was a really impressive move. I haven't seen that since 2006.
That Axel just really spun out.
Could you imagine if we just started naming all the sex moves? Every single one.
We don't have time for that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for tuning in on the podcast. This has been a true train wreck, and
Yes.
I'm already en route to going to hell.
Yeah.
So
it's
thanks
been
so
awful,
much
but
for tuning in.
thank you for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. We are kicking you out so we can go get food.
Yeah.
So
Bye.
we love you very much. You all have a lovely day, and
don't forget to take some leftovers home with you.
yeah, don't forget that. Also, write in the comments if you think my moves are good.